Hello. So it's the holidays, and you know what time it is. It's time to review another Malazan book of the Fallen by Steven Erickson. I just finished Midnight Tides, probably like I don't know, 2 days ago, something like that. And I want to reflect, want to kind of talk about some of the things I've read, what I continue to enjoy with Erickson's writing. Um, yeah, and it's kind of how I feel at the halfway point, guys. That's insane. Like crazy that this is the halfway point. I'm halfway through the series. I remember starting this back in like I want to say June is when I started reading Gardens of the Moon, and yeah, here we are. We're almost approaching January. Right now, we're like, it's the holidays, Christmas coming up and stuff. Did not, I left Midnight Tides back home in Boston, but I do have the Bone Hunters here with me. So I do plan on starting reading this probably next couple of days. I kind of want to give myself a few days to kind of reflect, breathe, take a deep breath, because from what I understand, Bone Hunters is crazy. From what I understand, is that Bone Hunters is pretty fast paced book. A lot going on. So might take me a little bit longer to read Bone Hunters. I don't know. Might take me a little bit longer. It's the same like lengthwise as Memories of Ice, and that took me like 2 months to read. So I'm anticipating this. I'm anticipating finishing this probably in February. If I had to, I mean, it's already Christmas, so I don't know, maybe February, maybe closer to March even, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. See how long it takes me. But getting into Midnight Tide. So I guess I'm just gonna be walking around, so don't mind me. I'm just walking around with my coffee and shit. Um so where do I start? Where do I start with Midnight Tides? I guess with Midnight Tides, I guess I was a little apprehensive at first to start reading Midnight Tides. Mainly because, I mean, you're halfway through the series, it's another reset, new characters, new events, new things to kind of keep in mind. On top of the already 4 books we've read. And like, I know we've jumped around in different points of the series with Jenna Bacchus and Seven Cities, between books 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And that's fine early on in the series, because it's like, okay, you have to kind of lay down some sort of foundation, and this is the expectation that the series kind of has going forward. But at the same time, it's like, well, we're halfway through the series, and it's kind of like, it can be a little bit jarring. So I can understand how some readers would feel a little frustrated with that. Especially since these books aren't particularly the easiest to read. There's a lot happening, a lot going on with these books. These books are very, very complicated. And, yeah, I think getting into that, I very much still enjoyed Midnight Tides. It's probably one of my favorite books in the series. And I think part of that is because I do have older brothers. Now, I'm much closer to one than the other, but, I had older siblings, so it definitely makes it a lot easier for me to kind of relate to this book on a deeper level. So I'm just going to kind of bounce off some characters, some plot lines, things I liked, didn't like, and kind of go from there, and just kind of, just getting on the Midnight Tides train. So, Midnight Tides, Steven Erickson. I had to say that the Troll, Sengar, the whole Sengar family line is what did it for me with this book. I love the Sengar family line. Troll didn't really do much for me in House of Chains. I found him to be a very, like, because he's already kind of damaged in House of Chains. So, but going back into Midnight Tides, we see, like, where that damage came from and where that stems from. And I thought it was beautiful. I thought it's just, I don't know, like this, seeing him slowly, like, fall with his family and stuff. And even at the very end, he still is like, oh, I can still talk to Rula and still, change Roulette when we the readers know that, like, no, you can't. A little bit upset that it took Fear so long to I mean, I guess Fear always had those doubts. He was not like brave enough, I guess, to vocalize them even in front of Troll, who, like, you know, was openly expressing these doubts and concerns about the Emperor and Roulette and, like, this power that is being used and such. So I thought that was very interesting. A little bit frustrating to the Fear, but Sengar family line, the best family line. Roulette, as a younger brother, I kind of understand where he's coming from in terms of, like, you know, being younger and want to being a part of something, be taken seriously, especially since honor is very important in the Eater culture. So yeah, it makes sense that, like, he wants a wife, he wants to be bloody, he wants to be a warrior, he wants to be taken seriously, and Eater culture kind of, like, you know, doesn't really respect you until you kind of are those things, I guess. So yeah, I found that very interesting. I love that stuff. I'm curious to kind of see where his storyline takes place. I know we probably won't pick up the storyline again until Reaper's Gale. So I get so I won't be seeing Roulette until then, I suppose. But you know, we'll see. We'll see. So getting into the Bedek brothers. The Bedek brothers, still a very tragic storyline. Not my favorite storyline. I think that the Sengar storyline is just more tighter. But I still enjoy their storyline. I feel like Bryce is probably my favorite of the Bedek brothers. Just seeing his role with the court and him dealing with some of the magical elements of the world, with, like, the holes and the Azov house. I found that to be all pretty interesting. Fucking a shame that we don't get all three of them together, like Hole, Teho, and Bryce. Like similar to how we saw with the wine scene with the Sengar brothers. We don't really get that. And don't really get that with the Bedek brothers. It's kind of a shame. I kind of was hoping we would have gotten that. What else? Teho and Bug. Bryce fucking also dies too. Don't get me wrong. Like, Bryce dying, super fucking tragic. like him sipping on the wine, and this big kind of, like, fuck you gesture. Like, yeah, I just beat your fucking emperor, and it was poisoned. His own emperor didn't think he was gonna, like, which, I mean, I get, because it's like, well, okay, yeah, like, what's best case scenario? Bryce defeats one or two people, but, like, there's a whole fucking army out there. Like, is a King's Champion gonna, like, defeat every single fucking person? Like, no. So, like, I mean, I get from, like, a king standpoint, but maybe tell that to your champion. Like, hey, just so you know, like, I'm gonna commit suicide. Like, maybe you should just, like, leave and just run away. Like, so it's like, damn, like, he was, I don't know. So, very frustrating. Fuck you. Fuck the king. Fuck the first Munich, whatever. And then, what else? I'm trying to think more about what else I was thinking of. Teho and Bug. Love this duo. Love them. Wasn't super emotionally connected with Teho. I found him very funny, but I wouldn't say I was, like, invested in him emotionally until he was getting the shit beat out of him, and I thought he died. And then I was like, I really hope Teho is still alive, because I really like Teho. And that's when I know, like, Erickson's just really good at, like, making you, like characters secretly. Because I like, him crashing the economy is interesting, but I just found like there's, like, more cool things happening, like, with, like, the Hold of Death and the Holds, and obviously this, like, fucking Lethari Eater war happening, the Crippled God. There's just more interesting things I wanted to get to and talk about. That Teho trying to crash the economy and having this construction company with Bug just wasn't that interesting to me. I just didn't really care that much. But yeah, him getting the shit beat out of him was saddening. And I was very worried that we were going to lose all three Benedict brothers. Like, we lost Bryce, we lost Hole. So a little worried about that. But I'm glad he's alive, glad he's okay. Bug being fucking male, did not see that at all. Did not see that. Bug being an elder god, I just didn't see that coming. Just did not see that shit at all. I thought that was kind of crazy. I don't know. I'm sure if I went back and reread some scenes, like it probably would have been pretty obvious. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. Like, I kind of want to. I mean, I will reread this series at some point in time. Definitely not like, I gotta finish the damn series first. But man, did not see that coming. Bug is male. Super cool, super cool. What else? Hole is kind of a confusing character, I will say. Because we were not really in his head until like the very end. And this goes into some more of my like criticisms about Serempedic and trauma and grief and like how we deal with that and how we handle that. So I think with when it comes to Hole, so Hole is a very damaged character, right? He has this like he's battling with trauma, with grief, because he feels like he's betrayed a lot of these Narek and tribal people, and he has a lot of like resentment and hate for the Lothari people. And the way I read that scene, the way I read Hole Bedic's character is that it's sort of like this analogy of like, not forgiving yourself and not learning to forgive and just kind of move on with your life. Like his whole life now is just consumed with the idea of vengeance. And I think with Hole Bedic is because he, I don't know, it's like just like self-serving, self-inducing, self-indulgence of like, just like stewing in your own grief, stewing in your own hatred. Because like he's like, oh yeah, well let's just go to another war. Let's just have another war. I want vengeance, and like he kind of like uses this excuse for the Narek people, and like, oh well, like this is for the Narek people. I'm doing this for you guys. Like, no, dude, like you're struggling with your own grief for yourself, and you need to like accept it in yourself. Like having another war where more people are gonna die is not the solution to your grief. So I think that was a pretty. I think that was kind of the message behind there. Just like don't allow your grief to like consume you and like stew in your own anger. Like you should like feel your emotions, right? And that gets us Serempedic. I'll be honest, I didn't really care for her POV in the beginning, in like the first half. I found her to be kind of I don't know, like similar to Duiker in book 2. I didn't really care about Duiker. I felt like the people around Duiker were more interesting, because he was kind of the observer. And similar to Serempedic, she's also the arbiter. She's like the observer. But once she kind of got out of the Eater camp, I feel like she started becoming her own character, and I appreciate that. I appreciate her becoming her own character. So yeah, I guess I'll get into her rape scene. So clearly Steven Erikson is not afraid to talk about rape or genocide or war or whatever. So I appreciate that. I appreciate him like not being shy away from these very heavy-handed topics. And we've seen rape in a series before with like Stoney and with Phyllis and Younger. So we've seen rape in the past amongst women, but also with men as well, which I appreciate Steven Erikson giving that, like he's showing off that, like, breaking those barriers, those boundaries a little bit, like, yeah, like breaking down that stigma, I suppose, that like, yeah, men can also be raped with Troll and Udinus, and even like the Children of the Dead Seed are all products of men being raped. So rape exists on both genders in this series. I'm just looking for something to eat here. What's going on? There's nothing to eat in this damn house. I'm just walking around like a crazy person. Yeah. So then what else? So yeah. So with Saren's rape, and again, it kind of comes down to like dealing with your trauma and like processing your emotions and stuff, and not like living in your guilt and living in your grief. Kind of how Holbeck does a little bit. I think with Saren is like, well, and when she meets the Crimson Guard, it's kind of like, oh, well, like, she can, forget her memories and forget all that trauma, when in reality, no, like, your body will still remember. So instead, she elects to feel all her emotions at once, get all her grieving out the way, and feel all her emotions. I wouldn't say she's like healed, but she's like gone through the grieving process, and now she's like in acceptance with her grief, and that's like better. Like, just feel your emotions, feel your feelings, accept them, and then learn to like live with these feelings for however you can, you know. So I think that was really beautiful. I think that's a very beautiful message, and that message really resonated with me a lot. But in contrast with Udananis' rape, we don't really get this. We don't really like see how he processes those emotions, and I'm not really sure if that's Erickson, like, I don't know, having commentary on male sexual assault and how even amongst male victims is not really talked about, or is it because he's a slave, and he's a slave, so he's kind of already like by definition used to being used and taken advantage of, so like he just sees it as like another like slavely duty, I guess, like, oh, I'm just a slave, so no point even really talking about this, because the dude even has a kid, so I don't really know like what exactly is going on there. So anyway, what else? Yeah, I don't know. All in all, I really enjoyed this book. I felt like a lot of the Toblakai, God, Pack stuff kind of thrown in there left field. I feel like there's like enough already happening in the book that like, okay, did we really need all this stuff here too? I don't know. But I enjoyed it. I enjoy this book. I think this is one of my favorite books in the series. Don't think it beats Memories of Ice. I've let it like simmer and stew in my mind for a little bit longer, and I still think Memories of Ice is a good book, dude. I still think like, if I could go back and reread Memories of Ice, I would reread Memories of Ice for the first time, and then probably Midnight Tides. Midnight Tides is like a close second. I think if I had to rank the books right now, probably be Memories of Ice, Midnight Tides, Dead House Gates, House of Chains, and then Gardens of the Moon. I think Gardens of the Moon is still probably the weakest of all the books. Still a good book, still a very good book. I mean, it got me into the series, so like it definitely did something right. What else? Yeah, the Hold of Death is very cool. Keto is such a ruin. We'll see where they end up. A lot of folklore sailing about here now. Yes, we have Calm, we have Serenity, so we'll see what's going on with that. We learn a little bit more about the Chain Chamal. I think that's pretty cool that they literally created the death of the universe. Like they turned Mother Dark into a black hole, and that black hole is slowly destroying the universe, I guess. No one's really talking about that. Like, so I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. Midnight Tides, great book, amazing book. Yeah, I have Bone Hunters somewhere around here. Have Bone Hunters right here. Can't wait to start. I can't wait to start reading this fucking book, dude. Oh my god, nose is itchy. Can't wait to start reading this book. Can't wait to start just getting through this behemoth. And convergence is upon us, boys and girls. So, all right, those are my thoughts about Midnight Tides, about Malazan. Halfway through the series, I'm loving this series. I guess, yeah, these are my more broader thoughts about the series. Halfway through the series, I don't know, I feel like I've read so much, but I feel like I'm also like, I still have so much more to read, and I don't know, it's like, you're like at the halfway point. So I'm like, damn, like I'm getting kind of worried about finishing Malazan a little bit. I'm like, damn, I don't want this series to be over. I don't want this series to stop. I want to keep reading this series. And look, there's like tons of more Malazan books besides just like these 10 Book of the Fallen. Um, but yeah, I don't want these 10 to be gone. I want to keep reading this book series forever. But like the Wheel of Time, eventually there's no more books. Eventually. Um, Yeah, Malazan is like definitely shooting up to be one of my favorite book series. Don't know if it'll beat Wheel of Time, because Wheel of Time is just special, man. It's just special. And yeah, it's. I mean, they're both completely different book series. I mean, they're just different. The only thing that really like separate, the only thing that's very comparable is that they're fantasy, like epic long fantasy series, and that they're long. But beyond that, there's not many similarities. They're both two different stories. One's Wheel of Time is more of a coming of age, chosen one trope, good versus evil. While Malazan is more of like a character study of like certain characters, and there's an overarching plot line, obviously, but it's more interested in like characters, I would say, and like dealing with those themes. But anyway, okay, those are my thoughts, and we'll be back next time with the Bone Hunters. All right, peace out.